Hello, everybody. Hello once again. Welcome to Honest HR Nitrous. I'm Bill, the company's expert. Thank you for joining me today. And this is the live stream I do a couple of times weekly where we talk about job search, but not just the theory of how it should be done, more like the gritty reality of what's actually going on out there and how it is done. So that's what we're here to talk about. This is primarily a Q&A session. This is your big chance to ask me a question. The moment of your hopes and dreams, the epitome, the apotheosis of your hopes and dreams has finally arrived. It's upon you. Here it is. Take yourself, avail yourself of the opportunity while you can. Yes, if you are between jobs right now, or you are struggling with your career or anything like that, and you want to ask me a question, what you're wondering about, what you're struggling with, you should see a chat box somewhere near my face if you're watching this on a device, somewhere near the video feed. If you are a subscriber to my channel for any amount of time, you should be able to get in there and ask me a question, and I will do my best to help you out. This is episode number 110 of Honest HR Nitrous, and the title is, Where Are the Jobs? What Employers Really Want in 2025. So that's what we're here to talk about. Before we start, though, once again, just a shout out to my YouTube channel members. You guys are awesome. Membership has its privileges. And also special thanks to my Patreons and my super thanks donors. Those are always nice to get. And to you, my viewers and participants. So let's get down to it. Big J is here. Big J says, is ageism a real thing? Yes, it is. And it goes both ways. There's ageism where people are biased against hiring old people, and there's ageism where people are biased against hiring young people, right? So those two things do exist. It is a thing. I don't think it's a major thing, but it is a thing. You know, but there's a lot of noise surrounding it. All the isms, there's a lot of noise surrounding it. You know, some of it is genuine and is a problem. Others, it's imagined, or it's a fabrication, or something like that. So yes, it is a thing, and we can talk about it if you have any specifics. But that's Big J. Welcome, Big J. There are 10 people here. Thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. And you're obviously engaged in some self-improvements. You're obviously fine, upstanding human beings who have got great taste. So congratulations, by the way. Discerning, smart people here. That's great. And just to clarify, I don't have an agenda. I don't have any kind of thing to talk about on my own. I'm here purely to answer your questions. So get in the chat. Let me know what is on your mind, what you're wondering about. What's holding you back in your career? We can start with that. 63, 37 years progressive leadership experience, can't get interviews. Well, Big J, 37 years of progressive leadership experience. For a lot of people that have been in that situation, you hopefully would have tuned into networking by now. 80% of the jobs are not posted, right? This is a real thing. And the reason why those 80% of jobs are not posted is because they don't need to be posted, because the people that are looking to fill those positions are not having any trouble finding good candidates to fill those roles. So they don't need to post them, right? You post a job when you don't know of anyone, nor can you find anyone, and you need to publicize it and get strangers to apply. That's why you post a job, right? Now, let's do the thing that I do a lot of here. Let's see. Here we go. So, okay, because I want to make it clear that this is not coming from me. This is a real thing. So let's see if we can do this here. Okay, so of all the jobs out there, what's the percentage of them that are actually posted that you could discover doing an online search for jobs? Okay, I'm just struggling with a very, very ancient computer. I built it myself in 2011, I think. And so that's why it's a little bit slow. So here you go. Great question. The vast majority of job openings, roughly 70 to 80, it's more like 80 to 85%, are not posted publicly. These are part of what's referred to as the hidden job market. Okay? Employers often fill positions through referrals, internal promotions, or direct outreach to candidates they already know rather than publicly posting these jobs. Right? So what's important here is that 80% of jobs are not posted. Does this mean you can't get them? No, you can access all of those jobs. Okay? You could be the one that's being reached out to. You could be the one that they're using to fill these jobs here. The thing is, though, you go about that process a different way than you would do a job search in the posted job market. Okay? So in a typical job search, you're only seeing a fraction of the available opportunities. Okay, so specifically, when you do a job search online and you see all those jobs like on Indeed, on LinkedIn, on company websites, other aggregators, ZipRecruiter, Monster, Workopolis, all these other ones, that's 20% of the jobs that are out there, okay? The problem is that you have like 80% of the candidates competing for those 20% of the jobs. That further compounds the problem, right? And then in more recent times, you throw in the rise of fake jobs, on top of all that like these three things combine to make it really, really tough to get a job in the posted job market, okay? So the hidden job market is where it's at. Learn about that. Learn about how you can put yourself forward for those, okay? And I'll give you a hint, it's not what a lot of introverts think it is. They think it's about just happening to know a million people and going and schmoozing with them. That's not what it is at all, okay? So learn about that. I cover that extensively, we could talk about it more today, but I cover the whole thing in that course if anyone's interested. Okay, Jason Javier Gonzalez says, hey there. A couple of weeks ago, you gave me some advice before my manufacturer engineer interview with the plant manager. Oh, here we go. Did it blow up in your face or something? I didn't get the job. Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm feeling pretty depressed. I've been in different processes, but no job yet. I'm almost done with my savings. I can't believe this is happening. I'm sorry to hear that, Jason. That really sucks. You're not a bad person. You're highly employable. These things, it's just random chance, unfortunately. The situation you're in, you just want to pull out all the stops and just, look in the posted market, look in the hidden market. I don't know if it helps, but I did a video about just over a month ago called How I'd Get a Job, where I walk people through 11 different methods of finding a job. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's helpful to you. I'm sorry that didn't work out. That's just how these things go. Yeah, don't worry, Jason. Like it's temporary. I don't know how temporary it's going to be, but it's temporary. And, it's really tough. It's a tough situation. It's like, that's just how things go sometimes. And, all you can do is just redouble your efforts. I hate to say it, that's just what it's a matter of. And hope that, you get luck on your side this time, Don't be depressed in the sense that, you're not doing anything wrong. You're a highly employable, highly valuable person. The challenge is just that in getting people to see that, getting the people who could use someone like you to connect with you, right? That's the thing. I appreciate your words, Jason. Listen, I wish you all the good fortune in the world. I think you're going to be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. I know that sucks when, you haven't made a lot of progress so far, or you haven't gotten anything, but keep up the efforts and do what you know how to do. Tack on maybe some things that you haven't done. And that's all you can do. That's all that's humanly possible. And just wait it out, and it'll happen. So, I wish you all the best, Jason. And if you do have any questions or anything that I can help you with, don't hesitate to come back and ask, and I will answer them. Big J says, thanks. Networking is my weakness. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a new thing. But even if like I'm just going out on a limb here, I suspect that you might be an introvert like me. It doesn't come natural. The biggest thing that's holding back introverts when it comes to networking is they don't respect it. They don't think it's that important. They have preconceived notions about it. What it is like all these negative assumptions. And usually they're all wrong, that's what I learned anyway. It's not something that you can just like learn in a day and then bam, it takes a little bit, but like things like social networking, things like LinkedIn, between LinkedIn and Google Maps, those two tools are like by far, as far as I'm concerned, the single two biggest tools on the internet. Google Maps and LinkedIn, in terms of finding jobs, because it allows you to find all the employers around you. And then once you've got like lists of like tons and tons of these like targets, it allows you to see inside of these organizations, these targets, to the individuals. Like Google Maps is the first part, and then LinkedIn allows you to see inside to the individuals and then reach out to them, So you put those two things together, it really opens a lot of doors. Now, if you want to see what that looks like, you've never seen that before, I've done a video where it's like a video of my desktop of me using those tools and showing you an example of what you can do with them. Okay? It's linked in the description box of this live stream. It's called How Successful People Get Jobs. So if you're in, I'm not trying to get you to leave, but if you're interested in that, check out that video. And that can illustrate, how you use or how you can use both of those tools together, right, to do networking and to put yourself up for these jobs. I think what I showed, if I remember the video correctly, I showed like how you would do direct outreach. Direct outreach is one method of networking over the computer, like social networking. Where all you're doing is you're contacting the appropriate person at all these employers around you, and you're sending them a message, like a template message. Like you send a job application. It's like with a resume, it's like a default kind of pitch for yourself. This is the same thing. You're just sending like a message saying, hello, my name is this. I do this. I solve this problem. If ever you're looking for someone to join your team that can solve that problem, look no further, because I'd love to work for you. I live close by, and I can help you. That kind of thing. Thanks. Have a great day. That's all it is. And you just like pepper your city or your region with that. It goes to the appropriate people at the appropriate organizations that hire people with your skills. Now, the idea is that at any moment in time, what are the odds that they're hiring? Well, it's not more than 50%, I can tell you that. It might be 1%, 5%, depending on your industry, right? So the idea is that if you send this out to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different targets, which you can do in a day, you could easily send like 100 of these in a day, no problem. The idea is that, 1%, 5%, will actually be looking for someone with your skills, right? And long story short, doing it this way offers you a lot more advantages than if they had posted the job and you had applied with an application. Okay? There are many advantages to doing this as opposed to doing the job application. So you get to jump to the front of the line, as it were, for those jobs when they exist. But the idea is that you don't just do this for the companies that are posting, okay? Because a lot of companies are hiring, but they're not posting any jobs, right? We've established that, right? We've established that with this business, okay? Right? So the idea is that you're not going head to head with hundreds and hundreds of other people for a position. You might have one or two competitors for these jobs. That's pretty good odds, you know? So anyway, so check out that video. The video is called How Successful People Get Jobs, and it's linked in the description box below. And that will hopefully give you an introduction to the type of networking that you can do pretty efficiently and easily, where it starts with your computer. You know, you do the hard part of connecting to people and pitching yourself. The hard part is done over, the internet. And then it can then become a face-to-face thing, but it turns into more of a referral, and it feels like a referral than it is a job interview. They're not interviewing you for a job. They're saying, come on down, we'd like to talk to you, and it's very much a request, Where are we here? Galaxy Stranger says, between ageism and companies not wanting to pay for experience. What do you mean companies not wanting to pay for experience? You see, the thing is, don't take this the wrong way, but, it's like people saying, companies don't do this, they don't do that. It's because you have weird expectations, It's like somebody saying, let's say you had to move your furniture, you had to move all your stuff from one apartment to the next. You couldn't do it all yourself. You need to get movers to help you. So instead of hiring a moving company, you ask a couple of your friends, can you give me a hand? I just need you to, for 2 hours on Saturday or something, can you come and be here at this time? I'm just going to need you to help me move my piano and my tables or, whatever I have. My 6 pianos out of my apartment, my little apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, and we're going to move them to the next building, to my new place, right? And it would be like a moving company calling you up and getting mad at you and saying, what do you mean you're hiring your friends? We're a moving company. What's the matter? You don't want to pay for experience? It's like, no offense to you, but I just need this. My friends can do it, and quite frankly, I trust them, whereas you're a stranger. I don't want my stuff to fall off the back of a truck. I trust these people, I had that happen to me many years, like when I was young in my 20s. I moved a place, and, my significant other had like all kinds of pots and pans and valuable stuff, and they all walked, in the process of moving. So now that I think about it, I have actually had that happen to me. Right? Okay, you got to learn what people want, what they're willing to pay for, why they're willing to pay for it, and how do you approach them. Okay? I'm not trying to come down on you on this, but I'm saying if you learn that, then you will have opportunities in front of you that pay you more of what you're maybe expecting or what you feel your capabilities are, more in line with that. Anyway, I won't say any more about it now. Let's get through some of these questions here. Big J says, I think organizations often already have an internal candidate in mind, but have to post the job. If you are a minority, you can get used as a diversity candidate. I'm not going to get into all the political stuff, okay? I don't comment on political stuff. So I'm not going to get into like minorities and what you think might be happening and, all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know one way or another. And I can't comment on that. Okay, now you're correct that a lot of organizations do have to, or they don't have to, but they choose to go through the motions of posting in public. That's a stupid practice. It's like, it's just stupid. And I understand why they're doing it, but it really is, it's not forthright. It's because a lot of people won't understand, and they'll apply for it anyway, and then they'll be disappointed to realize that they're not even being considered, But the flip side of that is that I think a lot of people need to realize, if you learn what's going on and why, then you understand the situation, then you understand what you would have to do to get considered for it, And there's a lot of things you can do. The people that do tend to get hired with this stuff, it's because they went outside the system. There's no law that says you can't talk to somebody if you want to, right? The problem is, and here I go on my rant again, for a lot of people, we're conditioned through school and things to wait for permission to go and do something. For example, if there's like a manager 2 or 3 levels up, we think, who am I to talk to that person? And my answer to that is, well, who the hell do you have to be to talk to that person? You could talk to them if you want. Now, they have the perfect right to not respond, right? We all have the right to not respond to anyone we don't want to talk to, right? But you have the right to reach out to them. Now, if you know how to reach out to them, what to say to make them want to respond to you, that really helps. Because if you say the right thing and you approach them professionally and you say something appropriate and all this that actually helps them out, you know what I mean? Then they will want to respond. So I think a lot of people should want to learn how to do that. That's a very useful skill. What I found on my channel, I'm not being bitter here. It's just an observation. When I say hidden job market and I say networking, a lot of people go, and they don't want to get into it. And it's like, okay, well, this is the stuff that would really open doors for you. You don't have to schmooze. You don't have to do all kinds of things you don't want to do and talk to strangers and cold call. That's not what it is. It's just knowing what to say in a message to someone that would make them want to respond, and who to target, who to send that message to. Galaxy Stranger, as an introvert, we are taught that things like networking or asking for leadership means you are selfish and superficial. Yeah, and it's crap. First of all, you don't ask for a lead. Could you please put me in charge? How often does that happen in the real world? No, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? So the problem, I think, if there is one, is that it lies in personally, I think it lies in the schools and what they teach kids and stuff. It's like, I think it's because teachers, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but if I had to guess, I would say it's because teachers themselves don't know how this stuff works. Or the people that write curriculums for high school or whatever, they don't understand themselves how this works. So how can they lay it all down for, kids, So anyway, but that's neither here nor there. It's not about asking for something. Like the way business works is it's a mutually beneficial thing. Like when you go to the store and you buy something, right? It's not about the store asking you to spend your money there. It's about you deciding yourself that it makes sense for me to buy this. I'm getting something that I consider of value to me. And in exchange, they're wanting this amount of money. To me, that's a fair exchange. So it happens, right? They have a similar way they're looking at it. We're offering something of value. We're asking for this much. Seems reasonable. You also think it's reasonable. So it happens, It's not about somebody asking for something and the other person giving it out of the kindness of their heart. That's not what's going on here. It's a mutually beneficial thing, right? So for example, imagine a company or a department or an individual who needs help with something. They need someone that can solve a problem for them. They're looking for that, right? You can solve the problem. You approach them and say, listen, I can do this for you if that's what you're looking for, Now, what needs to happen? Well, they need to trust you, right? They need to feel comfortable that, you can in fact do that thing that you said that you can do. They also need to feel comfortable about working with you, right? People generally don't feel comfortable working with strangers. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like there's rules kind of how this stuff works. If somebody you don't know contacts you and says like, hey, let's go to dinner. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they can do. Would you say yes? Probably not. You know what I mean? So like there's when you think about it, there's like rules and stuff. Well, there are. Once you learn this stuff, it's really not that hard. Once you learn this stuff, you can reach out to hiring managers. You can reach out to executive managers, and they will, if you know what to say and you know what you're offering, it's possible that, they will respond. I built a consulting business on doing precisely this, and I've been trying to teach it to people because this should be taught in high schools, to be honest with you. And every once in a while, you do see people that just get this, especially kids that just get this and they accomplish great things. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sort of going off on a rant and I'm not answering. So I'm just going to answer some of these now. Okay. There are social skills that we are taught that make you a selfish person. Yeah, to a degree. Okay, true. Now answer me this. Do you like to work with selfish people? If a selfish person that's obviously selfish reached out to you and said, let's talk, would you engage with them? Probably not, right? So that can definitely backfire if you just don't apply it or you apply it indiscriminately. SJB, what if you can't solve problems and you're looking for experience? Well, if you can't solve any problems, then you probably don't exist, right? SJB, I'm pretty sure you can solve a ton of problems just by that 3 lines you've written for me, right? You can write English pretty coherently, more than other people that I've conversed with. You're here, you're asking a coherent question. I'm sure you know certain things. I'm sure you're very capable. If somebody said, listen, can you babysit for me? Like something extremely simple. If they said, can you move these boxes for me? You'd say, sure. Yeah, I can do that. Can you make me a sandwich? Can you sweep the floor? Can you build something with me out of wood? Like for me. Something more sophisticated. I'm sure you've got a lot of skills. I'm sure you have hobbies. You've picked up some skills. You can solve a ton of problems. They might not be problems that every single person you encounter is looking to get solved. But there are people out there that are looking to solve problems that you can solve. The key is going to those people and knowing what to say, saying, hello, I'm here. I can do this. If you're looking for that, let me know. Now, will all of those people be looking for help on that problem? Not right now, right? But some of them will. That's the idea. Right? Somewhere out there is somebody that's looking for something that you can do. And they're looking for someone like you right now. The problem is you're not connected to that person. They're looking over here. You can't see my hands. They're looking over here. You're looking over there in the other direction, right? You're not connected. Okay, so you've got a lot of value, SJB. Even if you've got a grade 6 education, a 6th grade education, as they say in the US. In Canada, they say grade 6 education. In the United States, they say 6th grade. That's the wonderful difference between us as 2 countries. You can solve a ton of problems. You could teach someone how to write English. I've seen evidence of that already. So don't give me this crap about, I can't solve problems. You can solve a ton of problems. And there's a lot of people that are looking to learn English for a start, let alone let's get into more details about you. Catherine says to Jason, Catherine's talking to Jason, Galaxy Stranger, in IT, it has been a trend that companies go for lower wage, inexperienced workers over higher paid experienced employees, especially since after COVID. Yeah, and why is that? It's because apparently the lower experienced, lower wage, inexperienced workers are doing an adequate job compared with the goals of these IT companies. For the specific goals that these IT companies have, these lower wage, inexperienced workers are meeting that goal. Right? Now, the problem is where you take that thinking and you extrapolate. You then theorize. That's not based on anything but your own imagination. You then say, oh, well, then there's no job for me. My skills don't matter. They're not useful. And I can't do anything else. Right? I can't apply them in any other area, nor could I get employed in any other area. Right? It's some of these assumptions that hold you back. Right? Now, I'm not trying to get at anybody here. I'm just trying to help you think. Okay? Have you looked anywhere else other than in IT? Are your skills transportable? Can you use them in any other area? If you don't work in IT, can you use them in, say, statistics? Can you use them in, I don't know, like let's say, even within IT, let's say, you're on the developer side. Can you use any of your skills on the systems admin side and vice versa? Right? Okay. What are companies looking for right now? They're looking for AI stuff and, other things. It's like, can you help with any of the problems that they currently have? How would you know the problems that a lot of companies have? Well, one way would be to go and talk to some people at companies, right? You're probably thinking, oh, I can't do that. Well, you can. And not only is talking to people at companies going to go right to the source, and they'll tell you, this is what we need. This is what, we're trying to solve right now. Right? Not only will knowing that help you sell yourself and say, hey, wait a minute, I can help you with that. Right? But the very act of speaking with them, now you have a contact. If they have an immediate need for anyone, you're right in front of them. The obvious thing is to get you, if you can do it. Right? So start thinking like this, because this is how people get jobs on the hidden job market. There's a lot of different things in the hidden job market, a lot of different methods of getting a job. Some of them are very basic, some of them are very sophisticated, and everything in between. Now, listen, I'm not trying to flog a course or anything, because I'm honestly not. I'm saying if I do cover that myself in this course, if you're looking for that. But one way or another, go and learn about this stuff, okay? Because there's a lot of opportunities out there, but you're just not connected to them. I feel like what I'm saying is kind of harsh. It's like directed at people. I'm honestly not trying to be mean or not to try and be insensitive. I'm saying this to help you. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm just trying to get people to just. The reason why people aren't pursuing that, in my experience, is because their mind is closed to it. They're like, they have all kinds of preconceived notions of what it is that are false. And so they think, I don't want to do that. So I won't investigate this. But they're wrong about what it is. They could actually really outperform if they knew what it was. So that I'm just trying to push through that, okay? You guys are awesome. You're going to do well, But there's a lot to learn. This is what I learned when I was in my 20s and in my 30s also, Okay, Jason says, thanks, Catherine. Okay, Big J says, thank you again. God bless you. Well, same to you, Big J. You're going to do fine. Learn about this stuff. There's a whole universe of stuff to learn. What I'd recommend, like the easiest thing to do probably, is just, get on, like we were talking about ChatGPT. I did this very simple question, how are the jobs posted? Like you could follow up, like just to spell it out to people who may not be into like the whole AI thing. Okay. This is like chatgpt.com. If you're not familiar with this, just go there. It's all free. You can access this. Okay. What do you guys want to know? What would be a follow-up question to this? Is it possible to reach out to hiring managers and put myself forward as someone that can help them? Is that something that I could do? Like, I'm just asking like an open-ended question here, Okay, so like, it starts to answer, gives you like a general process here. Okay. Now, the other thing that this thing can do, I don't know how accurate it is, okay, but it can do things like this. Okay, so I'm located in Chicago, and my background is 10 years experience in various roles in the warehousing industry, like supply chain, right, for industrial products. Now, if I wanted to get a job in Chicago in a warehouse, either a warehouse manager or a warehouse worker, what are the big employers that I should contact? And what is the title of the individual at those employers that I should reach out to that would be able to hire me if they liked me? Like, I don't know, I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Like, as I say, this is like the first steps into like learning some of this stuff. Okay. So given your 10 years experience, top warehousing. So here you go. Here, bam, 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 bam. All these bigger employers. Key contacts to approach. Okay. So these are the, the titles. Now you could do a LinkedIn search. You could do a people search, confine it to the Chicago metropolitan area or whatever. And, look at like, so do a search for Uline, and then do a people search for warehouse manager. And then you find the individuals. Not only do you find the person, you then have the capability of sending them a message, right? Okay. Crafting your message. Here you go. Here's I don't know if I necessarily take this thing's advice to do it. I would do it differently, but you know what I'm saying? Like you could start, like already you can get specific information, right? At the risk of beating this to death, let's go one step further. Okay, so I'm interested in Uline. Can you give me a rundown of what their operations are in Chicago? Approximately how many facilities they have, how many employees they have, how many departments they have. Give me an overview of like what they have in Chicago that might apply to me in terms of where I could work. By the way, I don't live in Chicago. This is all just as an example. Okay, my point is that it can do like local specific information about companies, things like that. Here you go. So Uline Chicago area operations. So 800,000 square feet, additional locations. Okay, it's got these departments, about 9,000 individuals are there. Potential roles, associate, department manager, blah, blah, blah. Reaching out to hiring managers. Okay, so LinkedIn, looking for titles like this. I wouldn't do the career history, but whatever, direct reach out. Nobody's going to. If you got a problem with this, you're probably not going to be excited about cold calling people. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything where you pick up a phone. Do it through LinkedIn, but learn this stuff. Okay. Like there's a lot you can do. And this is just from home. This is just from you sitting at home with your computer, right? Looking for targets, looking at the people, sending out a message in the same way that you would look at job postings and then send out applications. It's the same kind of thing, right? Okay, where do we leave off here? Mohammed says, good afternoon, Bill. Can you please shed some light if someone is on a work visa in a foreign country, as this is the case for many of us? No, sorry, I can't. I'm not an expert on international hiring, nor am I in the United States. So between the two of those, I can't really help you with that. Also, it's going to vary what is your host country and what's your home country. You know what I mean? So so there are people that know that specific information that can help you with that. So I recommend you reach out to those people that are experts on like hiring, or how visas work for, say, the US or something like that. Best of luck, Mohammed, with that. You can get that information, just unfortunately not through me. Jason says, again, just thank you for your help. I've tried to send messages to LinkedIn to network, but I usually don't get a response. They may connect with me, but they don't answer any messages. What else should I do? Well, that's kind of the thing to do. It's just learn what message to send. The other thing is that, like, you know how, like, when you're sending out job applications, it's a numbers game, right? You might start with, like, I don't know, 1,000 applications, whatever it is in your job search campaign. And then of 1,000 applications, you get like what, 10 interviews, something like that. Somewhere in there, it's going to vary, right? Anywhere between 100 and 1, like whatever. And then of the 10 interviews, if you're lucky, you might get 1 job offer, something like that. It's a ratio kind of thing. It's a numbers game. Well, the networking thing is a numbers game also, okay? For those that don't know, same kind of thing. You can't just go to 5 or 6 people. You need to go to hundreds of people where you send out these messages. It's like a template, You might have to tweak, certainly the name for each one. And certainly like, maybe a detail of like what you're offering or, what the deal is. But it's the same basic idea. You're not just going to a handful of people. You're going out to a lot of people. Because the odds are that people are hiring for someone like you right now. But that's not going to be every company. You're lucky if that's maybe 5% of the companies. But that's okay, because if you knew that, okay, 5 out of every 100 companies that would hire someone like me are hiring right now. That's good. If I want to go to 5 companies that are hiring me, I send out 100 messages. If I want to go to 50 companies that are hiring someone like me right now, I send out 1,000 messages. Right? It's a numbers game. Those ratios are the same. Now, you can easily do 100 of these a day, right? Easily. Okay, you're basically changing the name and then you're sending the same message, right? So, you know what I mean? You do it multiple days, and then pretty soon, depending on what you're asking for, if you're asking for, a meeting, if you're asking for them to call you in about a job, if you're asking for an informational interview, or you're asking for something else, you will start getting those, right? Now, if you don't know the protocol, you don't know what to say, I've put all that into this course, okay? So I got the course there if anyone's wanting to learn all of this from the beginning to end. I have to put it on the course. There's no way you could explain all this in even an hour. There's no way. Too many principles all stacked on top of each other. Okay, where were we here? So that was Jason, I think. Yeah, trust. Okay, so Galaxy says, yeah, trust and expectations are huge and often get in the way in the workplace. Well, that's one way to look at it. The flip side, of course, is that have you ever wondered why they hire someone that really isn't that qualified? Maybe that person is trusted by a manager. They, for better or for worse, that's probably why they were chosen, right? The flip side, of course, is that, you wonder why you're the most qualified person to do this and they don't pick you. It's probably has something to do with this, right? They might not know you very well. You're kind of a stranger to them. They don't really know who you are as a person, A lot of times, especially if you're above the entry level, above the worker level, right? You're at the supervisor level or up. It's like you're entrusted with things. And it's not simply a question of qualifications. It's a matter of trust. You get the wrong person in there, they can do a lot of damage. Right? So that's why there's more to this than simply assessing your qualifications. Right? What would be interesting is if you see that ever happening, you see okay, they had an opening and they filled it with this person, and you're kind of frustrated by that because like maybe you put in for it, but they chose that person over you for some reason, it would be interesting to explore what that reason was. See if you can figure it out. Why did they hire them? What was it about them? And a lot of times the answer points away from like raw qualifications. Where does it point to? You know, there's a life lesson. You know, people can tell you this stuff, but until you see it with your own eyes, some people, especially introverts, you might not believe. You know, you might not believe this. Nor do you believe that like you could make those principles work in your advantage, for your advantage, instead of always against you. You know what I mean? Like one thing I learned, this might be neither here nor there, but one thing I learned very early on was, you know, you always had a couple of employees that would always go to lunch with the boss, right? That were at my level. Now, I never did. And then when it comes time for people to be promoted or whatever, guess who gets promoted? The ones that go for lunch with the boss. Now, was it all, like, it's very easy to look at it from the outside in and say, favoritism. It's like, no, that's not what's going on here. You know, the boss had a good rapport with those employees. During their conversation, the boss would express their opinions and about stuff, their expectations. The employees would share their opinions and their expectations. You know, there was a lot of overlap. They kind of clicked as people, right? So naturally, when the boss wants like an assistant or, you know, whoever, you know, running things as their proxy, they're going to go for the person that they know the best, that they click with, that they get along with. They already know that they have certain minimal technical skills. When you combine that with the fact that, oh, we get along, they think like me, I trust them, you know, it's an obvious choice. You would pick that person over someone you don't really know. The only thing you know about them, and I'm that person in this scenario, is that they don't go to lunch with you. You maybe invited them a couple times, but they don't take you up on that, right? You know, so it's unfortunately, I'm trying to outline that there's like other factors involved. You know, when you look at it from the outside, it might look like, oh, this is like unfair or something. It's like, it isn't. It isn't. There's more than just technical qualifications that are going on here, you know, and you can use these things as your secret weapon. It really doesn't take a lot, you know. It might take one meeting with someone for you to then use that principle in your favor instead of working against you. Like, think of it. Okay, you've got a ton of people that are applying for a job at the company, right? When they have a job posting. Okay, so you've got a bunch of candidates lined up. Now, when they don't have a job posting up, you might get one person that contacts the hiring manager and says, look, I know that you guys do some fantastic work in this area. I know you do some very interesting work to do with this. You know, I just want you to know that if ever you're looking for someone to help you with that, you know, I'd love the opportunity to help you with that. I've got this, and I'm looking to do some really interesting work in this area. And I know that that's you guys, you know. So let me know if you're ever interested, you know, something like that. You know, this person isn't just cruising for a job. They are obviously interested in working specifically with these people, right? Or else it wouldn't make sense what they're doing. If you don't care about this company, you're not going to reach out to them, right? So it's like the thing that volunteering does. People like volunteering because it shows what you truly care about. They're not paying you to be here. So if you do it anyway, obviously you want to do that thing, right? It's signaling what your true sort of passion is, right? So this is kind of the same principle. You reach out to that company. That's a lot more powerful than simply applying for a job. Because if you're applying for a job, you could genuinely want to work there, or you could just you just need the money. And you'll say whatever self-serving thing to get the job, but you really don't care. You just want the money. You don't care about these people or doing this work. You just want the cash, right? How do they know? They don't know, right? But the people that do this method, you know that there's at least some level of interest in actually working specifically for these people, right? So that's why this is more powerful. That's why this can be the tiebreaker. And that's why most companies don't post the job, because they would rather hire this way. So if you're not doing this kind of thing, you're sort of just like saying, 80% of jobs I'm not even going to go for. I'm just going to only go for these 20%, you know? Where did I leave off? Ryan said, should I write something on my resume above my last position to explain a job gap? I know I can explain in an interview, but is nothing about the job gap on my resume disqualifying me immediately. Ryan, okay, you could do that, and maybe it might work some of the time, okay? I would recommend that you don't. What I would recommend is you take the opposite strategy and you try not to draw their attention to the fact there might be a job gap. Okay, I don't know if that's possible depending on like the dates and stuff on your resume, but because unfortunately, recruiters, they don't like work gaps, especially current work gaps. And it's all based on assumptions. It's not based on anything real. It's based on the odds of what's going on, whether that applies to you or not. You know, they're going to judge you by that. So, if you're trying to go through a recruiter and you're responding to a job posting with an application and you're sending in your resume, I would do everything in your power to not draw attention to any kind of work gap, to try and obfuscate it. Because listen, let's face it, you and I both know that whether, you know, you've been working the last 6 months or the last year or whatever, really has no bearing on your value as an employee. If they were to hire you tomorrow, you would still be, you know, a valuable employee or whatever. You're not going to be like, oh, I've taken a year off, therefore I've forgotten everything I ever learned. I've also forgotten any sense of responsibility or punctuality or decency. It's like, so I'm going to be a terrible employee. It's like, no, we all know that that's crap, right? You're every bit as valuable regardless of a work gap or no work gap, right? So all you're doing is you're just trying not to be judged on assumptions made about you if you have a work gap, because the assumptions they're making is that, oh, there must be something wrong with you if nobody's employing you, right? We all know that's not necessarily true by a long shot, but it's assumptions like those that they're making, and they're classifying you as a higher risk employee if they sense that you have a work gap, right? So I would not do that, because you're sort of drawing their attention to this. It doesn't really matter what you say. The reason why they regard a work gap as bad is because they know that they can't tell a truthful, honest, harmless justification from a total lie, right? Why did you take a year off? And say, oh, I had a sick family member that I had to take care of. But it's okay, they're dead now, so, you know, I can work uninhibited by this, you know? And they go, okay, you know, sorry for your loss. They don't know if that was a complete lie or that was genuine. They have no way of knowing, and they know this. So therefore, anyone that has a work gap, they classify as a high-risk employee. It's stupid on a human level, like on a, you know, granular level. You can understand it on a sort of statistical level, but that's maybe not necessarily the right way to handle these things. The way you get around the work gap is through networking. Just like almost anything else, like a career change or anything like that, you get around it through networking. You go talk to a hiring manager, you get along with the hiring manager, you ask them intelligent questions in an informational interview or something. They can see you know your stuff. You're great to deal with. You've got great communication skills. You're professional. You're charismatic. You've got a rapport with them. And judging by your questions and things, they can tell you know your stuff, you know? So if they have an opening, they'll say, you know what? You know, maybe we'll give you a chance, right? It's just like the changing a career thing, right? So that's kind of how to handle work gaps. Don't draw their attention to it. Would be the strategy I recommend if you're going through recruiters. And if they are like preventing you from getting a job that way because they're just making assumptions about you, then go the networking route and go around that completely and get hired anyway, usually for a better job. So hopefully that makes sense, Ryan. Jason says, message, I try to be kind and short to not bother, but even when they connect with me, they don't actually answer any messages. What should I do, or how should I approach a solution? Well, you're getting, I mean, first of all, I don't know exactly what you've done or what precise situation you're in. If you're doing direct outreach, I've said it a bunch of times, you just send a message that basically says, hello, my name is X, my name is Jason. I'm a fully qualified whatever. I solve this particular problem. And if ever you're looking for someone to help you with that, let me know. I'd love to work for you. I know you guys do great work in this area, and I'm looking for a position where I can really help and contribute. So, that's all. Have yourself a great day. Something like that. Like, the idea is that most people, like the vast majority of people, are not going to respond to that. You're going to get mostly silence. You're going to get a few people that give you a no, right? But then you're going to get a couple of people that will give you a yes. They'll say, hey, we might have something. Now, the key thing is you also have to go to the right person. If you send that to a recruiter, it's useless, because all they're going to do is they're just going to refer you to a job posting. Or if there is no job posting, you're going to say, sorry, we're not hiring, bye, which is lovely. You got to go to the right person. That makes all the difference in the world. If that goes to a recruiter, it'll be useless. Okay, so that has to go to a hiring manager, preferably an executive manager. Okay, that's how that works. What I used to do that worked well for me is it would be a 2-step process on LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn to do this, the first step is to get them to connect with you, right? So that's kind of the first stage. Now, if they're never on LinkedIn and they're not paying attention to their LinkedIn account, they're not going to connect with you, right? Or if they're just paranoid and suspicious and they don't understand, how people network, they won't connect with you, right? There are any number of reasons why they might not connect with you. But like the first step is to try and connect with them. So you send them a message and say something along the lines of, hello, I see we've got connections in common or whatever. I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network, have a great day, something like that. Right? Now, people that are just antisocial or people that are too busy to do this or whatever, they're not going to respond. Now, some people will. Of the people that have responded, and it's going to be a subset, in my case, I can't remember. I only know the statistic because I've said it over the years in live streams or whatever, it was something like a 20 or 30% ratio. So if I send 100 connection requests, and in my case, it was always to CEOs. It was just exclusively CEOs. 20 or 30%, I think it was 30%, would accept my connection request. Okay? Now, that's a function of who you're going to. It's also a function of what's on your LinkedIn profile, because the first thing they're probably going to do is they're going to check to see who is this person that's sending me this thing, right? Now, if there's all kinds of red flags in your LinkedIn profile, it's got a stupid picture, you're drunk, you're partying, it has sales all over it, I work in sales, they're going to make all kinds of assumptions. You're just trying to sell me something, or it's just unprofessional, or, there's any number of ways you could screw this up, right? But for me, it was 30% response rate. So I send 100 messages, template connection requests to these people. I'd get 30 or so that would connect with me, right? So that would be sort of phase 1. Then phase 2 is to send the message I've already said a couple of times, hello, I'm here, I can do this. Let me know if you're looking for someone who can do that. Goodbye. That was direct outreach. I don't think I actually did direct, or maybe I did. I did direct outreach, but it was years ago. And then it was something like 20% response rate for that. So of 30 people that accepted your connection request, then 20% of that responded to your pitch, essentially, the second message. And that's like 30. So that's 6. 20% of 30 is 6. So 6, you'd get 6 responses or so. So you send out 100 messages to these prime targets, you get 6 responses saying, come in, let's talk, or, whatever it was you're asking for. So that's how I did it, right? Now I talk about in my course how to do this, right? That's one of the things you can do. There's a lot of other things you can do too, right? A very promising thing to do is to ask for informational interviews. That's where, you say, listen, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to get your expert opinion on this industry and where it's going and what you think and, this kind of thing. And, once again, most people won't say yes. You'll get silence, but some people will say yes. And then you have like a bunch of informational interviews lined up with, like, in my case, it was CEOs, and you'd go and you don't do the talking, you ask them questions and they talk. And if you've done it right, by the end of it, they love you because, someone's getting them to give their opinions on stuff, and people enjoy that. It's very flattering. They can also tell by what questions you're asking. If you're asking very, kind of shrewd questions, they're like, that's a good question. So if you go back to them a week or two later and say, like, listen, what you said was like, I've been thinking about it. It's really interesting. If ever you do get some of those ideas off the ground that you were telling me about, like, let me know. I'd love to help you with that. Stuff like that. It leads to all kinds of opportunities. So, these are a couple of things that I did with this, right? But learn the principles, and then you can do your own kind of custom thing. You don't have to just do the 2 things I mentioned. There's a lot of other possibilities too. And I'm an introvert, so I try to do as much of it on LinkedIn as possible. Between Google Maps and LinkedIn, that's how I did all this stuff. If you're more extroverted, you don't mind going and talking to people, there's a lot of other things you can do there. Anyway, I'm just going on rants and stuff today, tangents. I got 27 people here, so you guys, it can't be super boring if people are sticking around for it, so that's nice. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. I'm here to talk about anything you guys want to talk about with regards to job search or careers or any of that stuff, really. Okay, so it's a combination of knowing like little phrases and stuff that are nice to kind of express an idea in a very compact, convenient way, very polite and professional way. Also, you want to know the high-level concepts about what people's incentives are, Like once you realize that, for example, executives, right? They are, like, part of their job is to take unsolicited queries from the public. Okay, so someone just reaches out to them and says, hey, what you do is very interesting at your company. I'd like to discuss some, I'm from this company, or I'm just looking for information on this. I'd like to discuss that with you. Is that okay? Now an executive that just bites their head off and says, like, how do you get this number? Like, who are you? No, I don't want to talk to you. Goodbye. It's like, how do you think people reach out to do strategic partnerships or joint ventures or, to work out new, like, supplier deals or anything? This is how they do it. How else do you think they do it? They're not buddy with people in the company. They don't just, like, have them on speed dial. This is how you reach out to companies you never worked before. You could be from a different country coming in and saying, I need to set up and find a partner in this region. That's what things like LinkedIn are for on the high end. So, if once you realize this could be a member of this could be the press trying to do a article or some kind of thing on, the company or the industry. This could be a regulator just trying to do stuff. This could be a potential partner. It could be a competitor even. You have no idea. So just saying, no, I don't want to talk to anyone, that's really bad for business. So a lot of executive managers, it's actually part of their job to entertain these, assuming, of course, there's no red flags with them. They don't drop a bunch of F-bombs in the message or something, Like that would be a red flag. You wouldn't necessarily respond to that. But if it all checks out, you don't really know kind of what it's about exactly. But let's find out. And what's also unintuitive to a lot of people is that people at the worker level, they can't help you. Okay? People in the middle, like the middle managers, they're too busy to help you, usually. And besides, it's not part of their job to be publicly facing, right? But executives, they actually, not only is it part of their job to be facing the public and representing their organization, they actually have more time, more unstructured time to deal with stuff like this than people in the middle, right? So, that's something that a lot of people just are not aware of. So you can take perfect advantage of this. You reach out to the executives. You approach them very professionally. You say, I have some questions about this industry. I'd like to get your expert opinion. A lot of people will respond to that. They'll check out your profile, see who are you, and things like that. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here that you could use to do various different types of things that will bring a lot of opportunities your way. Okay, get in the chat. I'm here to answer questions. I'm not getting any questions, so you guys need to give me some questions, or unfortunately, I have no choice but to wind this down. In the meantime, check out my other channels. I've got, if I can move my finger properly here, I got the Company's Expert 2. God, this is hard. And the Company's Expert 3. My monitor is like flipped, so it's hard to point to things. And check out my courses. This is probably the one people are most interested in, how to get hired. This other one is probably of interest to people if you want to improve your communication skills, which are pretty damn important, especially if you want to climb the ladder. So if you're looking to be seen as a contender to be promoted into like a management type position or something like that, this is probably a good thing to take. That's why I created it. Everything that I learned going from a supervisor to a CEO when it comes to communication skills, I put into that course. So that's what that is. There are a lot of things you got to tack on above your technical skills if you're trying to climb the ladder. For example, knowing like people management, understanding, being financially literate, things like this. But communication skills is a big one. So if you're looking to improve that, check out that course. See, I got to point in the opposite direction so my finger on the screen will go in the right direction. This is a beautiful setup. Okay, here we go. We got some stuff here. Let's see. We got a lot of stuff. Okay. Catherine says, you are excellent with this and you are quite right on all accounts. Well, thank you, Catherine. That's very nice. Too many variables. There's a lot of variables, but you know what? That actually is a good thing for you because it means that there's all kinds of combinations and it's potluck. So what it means is that if you're trying a lot, you're putting out a lot of messages, you got a lot of irons in the fire, you're sending out a lot of things and trying to start a lot of things. There's a lot of opportunities, You find someone with a personality type like yours who happens to be in a position, where they work in an area that could take advantage of your skills. And they just happen to have a vacancy right now, and you just happen to find their contact information on LinkedIn or ChatGPT or whatever, and you send them a message. They just happen to be paying attention to their LinkedIn account these days. They get your message. Normally, they don't do a lot of activity through LinkedIn, but yours comes through, and they just happen to be looking at it. It's like all the planets lining up in a row, right? It's a similar thing when you apply for a job and they just hire you. They might have had 800 applications for that role and 10 interviews, and then they gave it to you. There's a lot of variables, but that's a good thing. It means there's a lot of possibilities. Excuse me. Matthew says, when conducting direct outreach, do you think it is more effective to reach out to hiring managers with job titles such as manager or team lead, or higher positions like director or VP. Okay, so titles like manager or team lead, those are people at the bottom or in the middle. Okay? Director could be anything, unfortunately. Like the first career job I ever got I was a frontline manager. My official job title was technical director, So, it's just stupid titles. But VP, usually that means you're at the executive level. It's not somewhere in startups that can vary, or you have like startups where everyone is a vice president, But VP for sure will be an executive, right? Any C-level stuff or any VP level stuff is what I mean by executive. Okay? In theory, you could go to a board member too, but, that's not usually what people do. Not to just say, put it this way, maybe people do it, but I haven't done it, and I haven't heard of other people doing it, but it doesn't seem like there's anything preventing you from doing it. They might be able to help you. By definition, they will be able to help you if they want. In anything but the smallest companies, they're like part owners of it usually, so they can help you. But I would recommend going to higher level people, executives, for the reasons that I kind of was going into 5 minutes ago. Matthew says it's hard to gauge who's actually in charge of hiring sometimes. It's not about who's in charge of hiring. Any executive can hire whoever the hell they damn please for their area. You know what I mean? That's the idea. Right? Like, okay, so I've said this before. I've taught this in university, in business school. And I made there was one business program where I taught the capstone course for it, like the last course in it. And I made the students go out and do this. I said, we're going to do this, and you're going to go do it, and you get bonus points or whatever for like getting a selfie with you and the CEO. So go out and follow some of these processes, get informational interviews with CEOs, and then you get bonus marks if you get a selfie. And I got several students that brought back the selfies. I got more students that actually did all interviews with the CEO. And I had one student, and I've said this before, I had one student who, right in front of the student, the CEO handed her resume to the director of HR and said, look into this person. It's like, you talk to the CEO. Does the CEO hire lower employees personally? No, they don't. But the CEO is in charge. CEO is always looking, in theory, they're always looking for talented people to join their organization. They will deal with hiring at a high level, okay? But when they spot someone, that's good, there's a chance they can say no, you belong here with us. If we have an opening, I want them to consider you. Now, you can imagine the director of HR, right? Are they going to talk back to the CEO and say, no, I'm not going to consider this person? It's no, they're just going to be, yes, sir. We'll look into them, and they'll take it very seriously. They're not going to ignore you if that was your kind of vector in. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to start at the top and go down than start at the bottom and go up. You know what I mean? The thing is that a lot of people don't realize they can do this. That's the big thing, So go as high as you possibly can and then come down, right? Now, I'm not talking about celebrity CEOs here. I'm not talking about going to, somebody asked me, was it 2 days ago, we were live, and they said, well, I'm in New York City and I want to work in banking. So should I talk to the CEO of Goldman Sachs? I said well, it's probably not going to work out. They're kind of the status of celebrity CEOs. That's not what I'm talking about. If you want to work at Microsoft, I don't think you're going to be able to get a hold of Bill Gates or Satya Nadella or these people. I'm talking about not superstar companies, but the vast majority of companies that are mid-size, they have a couple thousand employees maybe, or less, you could certainly talk to those people. If you approach them directly and you ask for something that's reasonable and they can give you, Will that happen all the time? No. But will it happen some of the time? Yes. Okay. Alvin, big fan of you. Thanks for all your help. God bless. Well, thank you, Alvin. That's very nice. Very high praise. Ryan says, my work gap started in 2023, so it's pretty glaring. Okay. Okay, well, listen. I don't have the answer if it's going to work for you or not. Okay, and remember, we only need something to work once, right? So here's what you could do. You could do an A/B test, okay, if you really want to know. Half your applications, or for a period, say the next 2 weeks, add that little blurb explaining the work gap, okay, and just see if it works, okay? But then remove it and then see if you get any change in the results, okay? Now, what I would recommend, okay, is because it's a known thing that recruiters don't like work gaps, especially current work gaps, which is what you have, like it's 2023 to present, right? What I would do is I would get into some of this networking stuff, like direct outreach. Don't go through recruiters. Go talk to hiring managers. These are the bosses. These are the managers of like different parts of companies or organizations, right? You want to get in front of them. They don't work in the HR department. They work in whatever other department of the company that you are skilled in, So if you're an accountant, you're trying to get hired in the accounting department, you would talk to the chief accountant or the CFO or whoever runs the accounting department of that organization, right? Not the recruiter, the CFO or the chief accountant, right? So when you talk to them and they see that you're awesome and they see that you know your stuff when it comes to accounting and they see that you're passionate about working here and about accounting and all this kind of stuff, and they get along with you and they have a good feeling about you because you're asking them about what they think on stuff and they find that very flattering. It's like, if there is an opening, they could say, I might have something, if you are interested, we may have an opportunity here. Would you be interested in hearing more, that kind of thing, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a more promising vector into getting a job because they don't give a rat's ass about your work gap. They're hiring you for the person you are, how you presented yourself, how professional you were, how charismatic you were, how persuasive you are, how you seem to really know your stuff when you're talking to them about the future of accounting practices or whatever you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're hiring you. That's why they're reaching out to you. Okay, so it's only when you go through recruiters that a work gap is going to kill your chances or have any effect. You know what I mean? So cover your bases and do both if that's what makes you comfortable. Do the resume thing, but also investigate some of these other networking channels like direct outreach. Check out that video that I've got linked in the description box under this live stream. It's called How Successful People Get Jobs. It's a video done by me on my channel. There's just a link to it. Check out that. That might give you some ideas. Galaxy Stranger says, I just had an interview at an organization that had their own in-house recruitment. I just applied for a new position, but they grabbed my old resume from a year and a half prior. I didn't know what to do about it, so I didn't say anything. Yeah, that just shows you the competence of some of these people. You know what I mean? It's a real exact science. Only, the finest of humanity can do it properly. Yeah, I understand, the desire in not wanting to correct them, just to see if they move you to the next step. Because what you don't want to do is signal to them that, oh no, it's complicated dealing with you and it's problematic. You know what I mean? So I can understand you not wanting to like correct them immediately. If you do wait and not hear anything, you might want to then follow up and say if they've made their decision. And if they have made their decision, you want to say, well, you are using the wrong resume. And now that you have the right resume, can you consider me again? Something like that. Northern Nomad says, hey, companies expert. Hey, Northern Nomad. Jason says, I have another question. When looking for hiring managers, if I'm not able to reach them, what other option may be available? I only use LinkedIn because of this. Because you can't reach them? Listen, unless you're some weird exception, Jason, there should be plenty of fish in the sea. We're talking like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of possible targets, right? Now, check out that video that I've said a couple of times. It's called How Successful People Get Jobs. It's linked in the live stream. That gives you an idea like of how many targets we're talking about. And I can't remember what I was looking up. I was looking up some like random thing like dentistry or something like just there's a lot of queries you can do. Each query can produce many results, and each one of those results is an organization. There'll be multiple individuals you could reach out to. There's plenty of people to reach out to. You don't have to worry about like micromanaging like each one and doing a special process to like reach them and stuff. That really shouldn't be necessary to do that if you're doing this right, in my opinion. Roxana, welcome to being a member of my channel. Thank you, Roxana. You get priority for answering questions and stuff, and I guess you get access to some members-only videos I've done. And thank you for your support. Tong says, thoughts on communication courses. Is this something everyone should be doing? Well, Tong, since I'm selling my own communication course, yes, I'm for it. And yes, I think you should buy my course. Anything to look for when researching them? Yes. If they're done by me, you should take them. Is it something I should add to my CV resume when completed? You can. I don't see any harm in doing it, but is it going to like open all kinds of doors for you? Probably not. Your communication skills are demonstrated. It's not something you say like, oh, I have this and I have that. That's not how communication skills work. You're being assessed on your communication skills in an interview. That's what interviews are for. Okay? They're assessing you on all the soft skills all at once. So your charisma, how clear your communication is, how persuasive you are, your rapport, all that kind of stuff. Like everything all at once. Maybe conversational skills, things like this. And if it's like a panel interview or, they sometimes do interviews with like weird activities and exercises, that can test you on collaboration skills and, stuff like that. So they don't ask you about them. You demonstrate them. That's why they're scrutinizing your responses when you go to interviews, right? Did I get along with this person? Was it awkward or was it easy or, was it clear? Was it easy to communicate with them? There were no issues, they're assessing you on your attitude, and your professionalism, things like this. Do you get offended? Do you get upset during a job interview when they ask you certain things? That's how they're evaluating things like your communication skills. Specifically courses which train you for interviews and to succeed in careers, etc. Now, listen, I'm sure there's a ton of options out there for people. What a lot of job seekers will do is for this kind of thing, like if you're looking specifically for interviewing, you get a career coach. Okay, now I'm not a career coach, so I have no skin in the game here. For what it's worth, every 2 weeks on Mondays, I do a live stream where I partner with another YouTuber. You might have seen them on my channel. Her name is Abby, and she's from a YouTube channel called Life Work Balance. The difference is that she is a recruiter and she is a career coach. So people pay her to like work one-on-one with them, and they do like mock interviews, and she helps write resumes and craft resumes and things like that. Like, I don't know exactly, like you could check out her website, but the point is there are many people that hire a career coach to work on that kind of thing, because it's not about learning the theory of, how one communicates. It's about like working with you on your exact interview technique, and it gives you feedback from a professional for how they think you're doing and what changes they recommend that you make, right? So that's the idea. So you can take courses, but if you're wondering specifically for interviews, usually that's what people do. They don't take a course on it. They hire a career coach. So I'll leave that with you. You can investigate options if that's the direction you want to go. As I say, I don't provide that service. That's not what I do, but a lot of other people do. So look into that. A lot of executives will pay HR companies. There's a lot of HR companies that they offer services to executives and to other people that they will do this with them. They will do mock interviews with an executive, and they'll give feedback, and first of all, it's a way to practice. You're practicing with another person, simulating a job interview. Then they give you professional feedback. Like, they're recruiters. Supposedly, in theory, they should know what you're doing that's right, what you're doing that's wrong, and then they can give you feedback on that so that you can improve, right? So it's kind of a two-prong, like two purposes or two benefits of doing this. Okay, so that's how a lot of people do it. You could look into that. Alex says, Bill, can you partner even with a day after layoff to see his advices? That's another. There's another YouTuber, I think, called A Life After Layoff, if that's what you're talking about. He tends to talk about different stuff. I really do. I haven't seen a lot of his videos. He talks about, I think, like more like the job market and more kind of sensational, kind of flavor of the moment kind of stuff. I haven't thought about it. I don't think he would want to partner with me, because my understanding is that I think he's a recruiter, isn't he? I mean, I'm saying a lot of things for people to go around recruiters rather than use them. That's why I talk about things like the hidden job market a lot, because I'm actively trying to encourage people not to go through recruiters, because it's more advantageous in a lot of cases if you don't. So I don't imagine a lot of recruiters would want to partner with me, but thanks for your input. Well, you never know where things go. Anyway, we got 27 people here, and is it been? Yeah, it's been like an hour and a half. So we've hit the hour and a half mark. So if anyone has any last questions I can help you with, let me know, or forever hold your peace. I'm just adjusting my stuff here. Yeah, like I reached out to several prominent YouTubers. I don't think I reached out to A Life After Layoff, but I reached out to several prominent YouTubers a while back, to do a career expert roundtable. I was envisioning maybe we could get a bunch of people all together, and answer questions together, or discuss things together. Because I know in certain areas of YouTube, in the entertainment areas, for example, people like to do that. They all get together and do stuff together and kind of combine. And it makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, I found that generally speaking, people weren't super excited about doing that in this space. And it was kind of surprising, because I reached out to channels that were a lot smaller than mine, and even they weren't really interested. So I don't know if that says something about me, or just people just are not that social or something. I'm not sure, but it was kind of surprising. I encountered a lot of disinterest in doing it. I had a couple people even say like, I refuse to do it with you. It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, so who knows? But I did try and do that. Maybe in the future, I'll try and get that again. I'm not sure if anyone would want to do that. And I think that different people have different styles of working, so maybe that was it too. Anyway, I'm not getting a lot of questions. I will just talk about stuff for a moment and then see if that changes. So once again, check out my other channels. I've actually got 2 other YouTube channels. They're right on the screen. They're Companies Expert 2 and the Companies Expert 3. So subscribe to those if you want more content kind of like this. Check out my courses. The big thing here that I think might be able to benefit a lot of people is this. You know, if you're looking for essentially all my advice about the hidden job market and the posted job market all in one place, you know, from beginning to end with templates and processes and everything, all the principles kind of explained. Check that out. Link in the description below. There's also this here. It's a communication course for learning advanced communication skills in a business context. It's also for people if you're looking to be promoted into a management type position. It's one of those things you kind of have to have tacked on to your skills to be a contender for that kind of stuff. So check that out if you're looking for that. Also, I don't know how many people here would be into this, but if you're looking to learn business, you know, you want to understand your employer, or you want to understand how to make money, or you want to understand how not to piss all your money away, check out this course right here, the $100 MBA. This is for $100, not $100,000, but $100. You can learn everything they teach in a full-blown 2-year MBA program you would take at a university. The catch is that it's a self-learning course. So you get a reading list of various textbooks. They're the same textbooks you get in like Harvard Business School in their MBA program and other leading MBA programs around the world. I have read every single one of these books, and I give you videos that guide you through it. And the idea is that you could learn it at your own pace, on your own schedule. You could go to the depth to which you're interested. You don't, if you're not super interested about in economics or something, you don't have to like read the economics book or whatever. So it makes the information available, and then depending on what your goals are and what you might want to use it for, you know, you can pick and choose, or you can do the whole thing. You could skim the whole thing, or you could go in depth, and that way it's very flexible. So if you're looking to work for yourself at some point, or you're looking to make yourself more useful to your employer, whatever your goals are, that gives you the tools to do it. So check that out. All of these, the link is in the description. Okay, Alex Rosca says, the options I have right now, or right out, no, is to return to a job 50 minutes closer to me. Should I wait or apply right away? Right out now. The options I have right out now is to return to a job 50 minutes closer to me. Should I wait or apply right away? Huh. I don't fully understand what you're asking, but it seems like you have the option right now to work at a job 50 minutes closer to you. I don't understand why you would wait if that's something you want to do. Just apply or whatever, you know, put yourself forward for it. And I don't see any advantage of waiting for that kind of thing. You know, even if you're not sure if it's what you want, then go and get the option, go and get the offer. See if they'll offer it to you. Then you can decide what you want to do from there. You know, you can see what they're offering, and then you'll be in a position to make a more informed decision, you know, because it's tangible. You know what I mean? So yeah, it seems like that would be the thing to do. And I wish you every bit of luck on doing that successfully, if that's what you want to do. Okay, we've reached the hour and a half mark. I'm going to wind this down. Thank you for everybody who asked a question. We got some great questions today. You guys succeeded in getting me to talk all about some of the hidden job market stuff, which I usually only kind of gloss over. So congratulations. Hopefully that was useful. There are 27 people here. You guys are all awesome. Thank you. Know that even if you're kind of between jobs now and it's not really going anywhere fast, you're highly employable, highly valuable. Right now, out there, there's an employer who wants to hire you. They're looking for someone exactly like you. The challenge is that they're not connected to you. You're looking here, they're looking there. There's no connection between you guys. You know, whether you're an introvert like me or you're an extrovert, the power of connecting to other people that can help you is incredible. So learn how that's done. Start on that journey today if you've never really considered that. And hopefully if you were with me earlier where we were doing some ChatGPT stuff, you know, we started with this. I just asked the question just to demonstrate of all the jobs out there, what's the percentage of them that are actually posted, right? And here you go. It's not for me. This is not my opinion or something. You know, 80% of them are not posted. It's actually more between 80 and 85. And they call that the hidden job market. They're there. They're not necessarily hidden. It's just that they're not publicly, you know, advertised. They're not like broadcasted publicly because they don't need to broadcast it. So putting yourself forward for these is going to make a huge difference in how quickly you get hired and the quality of the position you end up with. So tune into this stuff, learn about it, and great things will happen. Thank you so much. I will be back on Friday, same time. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.